So basically, learning in a resource-based economy would be made interesting. And if it's not, if you did have to do something a little bit robotic and a little bit boring, you do it because you recognise that there's an outcome, that you're going to grow from that, and you would be brought up with that kind of developmental thinking in a resource-based economy. See, people can't imagine that. They just go, well, it's idealistic. It's not idealistic. There's some schools out there proving that it works, like rule-free schools that are in democratic state, school systems where kids don't have to go to lessons if they don't want to, yet they are going, and yet they are getting the results, and yet they're much, much happier, more well-adjusted people than anybody else in our society, nearly hands down. Collectively. So, sorry, they won and you lost. Your system sucks and theirs is better.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the example you gave in your Z-Day presentation of the, I think, what was the name of the school where it was a completely voluntary educational experience where the children didn't have to go to lessons if they didn't want to. What was the name of that school?
Summerhill,
yeah. I've got to do some research about that because that was one thing that was quite interesting to me, that that you said that they didn't have to go to any lessons if they didn't want to. They learned within their own preferred time frame, and and you said that you'd expect that they would have just been lazy and just bunked off school, but no, they got like top marks.
Well, I mean, I think comparatively, it's not so much that they got top marks, it's that they even bothered to take and pass the tests, at GCSE level, I think and they did it above average. It wasn't they were the top school in the country or anything. But then the thing the barometer that's missing in here is children's happiness. Is why the hell is everything done on it's productivity rationale. It's that how much what academic level are they at now? Because if they're at this academic level, then we're going to get this much production out of them. Kids, the guy who used to run Summerhill said a very profound thing. A.S. Neil, he said, from Summerhill, I'd rather turn out a bunch of happy dustmen than a bunch of miserable prime ministers.
That is actually really interesting.
He's like, in a sense, he's like, of course, I value their education and I want them to get a decent one, but the main thing we've got to teach these kids is happiness.
Yeah.
They're not, isn't that what we all want?
Exactly.
And that's why I'm involved in this movement, because the one thing I know for sure is that if people don't have food in their bellies and roofs over their head and clothes on their back, then that's not a very good bloody start on the path to happiness.
Exactly. I mean, you always hear the notion, always a pleasure, never a chore. I mean, that's a phrase that's normally only applied to sex, but it should be applied to everything. Nothing should be considered a chore, and if it is considered a chore, then I don't know, figure out how to
automate it,
how to automate it, or work around it, or maybe you're not looking at it right. Maybe you're viewing it from a biased standpoint and thinking, maybe I should, maybe you're not appreciating something about it. Maybe there's something about it that you're not aware of, or, there's loads of different things, and, that can be taken into account. And with the optimal, learning principles, that would be more of an abundant thing within the learning experience itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Right. Any more on that question, or shall we move on?
No, let's move on.
Okie dokie. We're making good time because we've got 3 more questions to go, so we're making good time. Okay, question 10. Will a basic education be mandatory? How would the basics be differentiated from the abundance of information already available?
Hang on, let me chew on that one for a while. Can you say that again?
Yep. Will and it's in inverted commas, basic education, close inverted commas, be mandatory? How would the basics be differentiated from the abundance of information already available?
Well, there's a streamlining process to this, isn't there? Like I said earlier, you're not going to show a 3-year-old a Dawkins documentary. So there are going to be things that are relevant at different ages, and it's going to be scheduled in. And to a certain degree, there's going to be an amount of flexibility and personalisation and individualism within the educational system like never seen before. Because, for instance, if you had a profoundly dyslexic student, then you would have the facilities to be able to cater for those needs, because there's been plenty of people throughout history. I think Roald Dahl got a D in history. A D in English. Einstein, I could be wrong on this, but I think he might have been dyslexic or something, or was it someone else? I could be wrong. It might have been another famous person, but there's been histories littered with people who had profound learning disabilities and found their way around them. But in a resource-based economy, you could cater to all of those things. There wouldn't be a mandatory anything per se. There would be a cultural reference that learning is cherished. You get people making statements like, oh, I don't want to go to school, Mum. Well, we all had to. No one said you had to like it, did they? It's like, oh my God, what a horrible, disgusting indictment of your world and society. In fact, actually, just to say there briefly, the first presentation I did at a school, I had a 17-year-old ask me the first question, or he said, mate, do you really think I'm going to want to go to school if I don't have to? Yeah, in front of all his peers, 180 kids, and the teachers standing there, and I turned around to him and I said, and they giggled, everybody in the room giggled a bit. And I turned around to him and I said, when you were a little kid, right, you tried to stand up. What happened? Well, I fell down. Did you try again? Yes. Did you ever go out into a new garden and see what's around the corner? And he's like, yeah. Did you ever sort of smell something to wonder what it smelt like, or taste something to wonder what it tastes like? I said, so you'd agree that to a certain extent you're naturally inquisitive, yeah, and curious? And he's like, yes. And I said, so that natural inquisitiveness and curiosity that you have as a human being has been all but completely kicked out of you at the tender age of 17, yes, and you're blaming me who says this shit needs to change? I said, you should be pointing you should be pointing the finger of blame at this school, the society, those teachers, and the world you see around you for the fact they've robbed you of your intrinsic motivation and desire to want to learn as an inquisitive, curious human being, and they've turned you into someone who's standing there at 17 and says that they don't want to learn anymore. That should tell you how much this system's failed you.
You actually said that. You said that you should point his blame at the school, like when you were actually in the school.
Yeah, no, and the teachers, mate. What are the teachers going to say? It was it was just stone dead. The whole room just went stone dead. I just
fair enough.
Because the point is people don't like hearing it because their head's in the sand. But the fact is, it's the truth. And I said at another point, I said, do you really think your teachers, the teachers stand up there and go, oh, we love teaching you, la 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 la. Do you really think that teachers bounce out of bed bright and springy 5:30 or 6 in the morning to come in and teach you every day? Are you living in cloud cuckoo land, mate? They come in because they are paid.
Yeah, and actually, since we're on this question, it will segue into our next question, which is, who will teach the children?
We will.
Those who actually want to.
Exactly.
And
as I said earlier, man, if I could give up work tomorrow, I wouldn't sit on my arse doing nothing. I've got more respect for myself than to do that. I would get up and I would go to the local primary school and I would make learning so goddamn fun that those kids would all end up being astrophysicists by the age of 10.
Well, yeah, I mean, even like Neil deGrasse Tyson, he decided he wanted to be an astrophysicist at the age of, I think, 8 or 9. Yeah, and that was just off his own decision. He, went to a observatory or planetarium or something, and just right there. I mean, first of all, he thought it was actually a hoax at first. He was like, this isn't real, just like looking at all these like stars and planets and everything. No, this isn't real. But it hooked him straight away. And, and it's, and we shouldn't degrade any child's ability to make those kinds of decisions at that age. It's just one thing that, we think that, at this current point in time, that we have the authority to make decisions for kids, but kids can make their own decisions.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Sometimes you just have to give them the freedom to make their own decisions, and you have to give them the freedom to fail, and know what it is, and know what that is, and know what it feels like, and move on from it. And the more they feel empowered, as I said earlier, the better education you're going to be able to give them. But yeah, ultimately, that is what's got to happen. People's value system have got to change. The value system of I'll only do it if it's for money has got to change to only do it if it's going to benefit me and everybody else.
And
we have to make that value shift as a singular organism sharing one single planet, because if we don't, then, well, as Carl Sagan said, an organism at war with itself is doomed. So,
absolutely. Right. Well, I'm afraid that we've got to end it now because we're running out of time. I just like to thank you, James, for coming along. If you want to just shout out not shout out, but give the name of your website again.
Yep, sure. It's www.tzmeducation.org. I need relevant studies for the site, relevant activities for the activism section, and I need everybody who feels that they can or knows someone who can to get in touch with schools and get this message to the younger people in our society, so that they can start to see that learning should be cherished and never a chore.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Right, well, next week I'm going to be doing Q&A. So from me and from James, I'd like to say a goodbye and take care, everyone. So say goodbye, James.
Goodbye, James.